once it French kissed the pole. I'm going to be taking that pole to dinner soon. So
just a complete disappointment.
See if we can see it. It's coming right into your living room.
So this is the first time the Saints have run an offensive play with the lead, and Burns threw it back.
7 seconds left. If Hollywood Brown, he's not looking. If he catches this.
Did he drop it early? Boy, that's going to be close.
Miami's got the football. Young just dropped it, and Bradley Chubb said thank you.
Maybe it wasn't his seat. Maybe he doesn't want to be on TV. He's gone.
Emeka Egbegbue going for over 100 yards. Emeka Egbuka.
Shane. Shane, Shane. Allen.
Hello, NFL Week 6 preview, the 38th parallel. You gotta give credit to that rookie, Emeka Egbegbue. Right, Alan? Emeka Egbegbue.
Listen, friends, Gronkowski is not racist. He's just that stupid. Why attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity? But we're kicking off this week with the recurring segment of Chat Is This Real? Which is really just true and false for Zoomers. Speaking of stupid, Shane, the Arizona Cardinals lost 22-21 to the Tennessee Titans at home. That was the worst loss you've ever seen, right?
Look, so for those who are just who are watching, so what happened is Cam Moore throws the ball, it gets tipped, it gets picked off, and then fumbled, and then the Titans recover, and then they get the game-winning field goal. I am going to go ahead and say that it's definitely up there for worst losses I've ever seen, for sure. The Cardinals seemed like they were doing okay, and then that play happened, and pretty much. Oh, and also, if you saw in the intro, the guy again. This happened again, where the guy didn't cross the goal line and he fumbles the ball. Come on, come on, guys.
So, it definitely wasn't the worst, because it's not like the Cardinals were 16-0 on the edge of perfection and the Titans were 0-16. That would be the worst, right? Yeah. But I will say it was among the most preventable. It was a preventable loss. They scored 3 touchdowns on their first 4 drives. It was 21-3 Cardinals with 10 minutes 43 seconds left in the second quarter, and the Cardinals never scored another point. So that wasn't all just mistakes. 3 fumbles, 8 penalties at home. They were 7.5-point favorites. Running back Emari Demercado, that was a 72-yard touchdown run that turned into a 72-yard fumble for touchback. The second time in 2 weeks. You just saw another guy do this on SportsCenter, and now you've done it. But I want to conclude with this. The Arizona Cardinals have announced that they are fining head coach Jonathan Gannon $100,000 for his sideline altercation with running back Demercado after his costly mistake. I'm sorry, maybe I'm just old school, but Gannon should have been in Demercado's face. In fact, he should have been telling him, clean out your locker. You will never play for my team again. But the team is fining the coach for getting after him for it. The Arizona Cardinals, sad to say, are not a serious franchise.
No, I agree. I think that's what a coach is supposed to do. You're supposed to amp up your team. You're supposed to get in their face. If they make a mistake like that, definitely get in their face. And one thing before you move on, here are quarterbacks who are leading their teams in rushing. Mahomes with the Chiefs, and the aforementioned Kyler Murray with the Cardinals.
Of course, because the offense is really running on all cylinders when little Sonic the Hedgehog is leading the team in rushing. Moving on to number 2, is this real, Shane? The AFC South will send 2 teams to the playoffs.
Well, the Colts utterly destroyed the Raiders. It wasn't even close. Here we see it as interception for a touchdown. They were up 26-3 at that point anyway. And here's Jonathan Taylor with another running. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is the guy that nobody's talking about when it comes to MVP or Offensive Player of the Year. This guy is just he's doing whatever you can to help your team win. And also Anthony Richardson just goes in and catches his own pass. I mean, why not? You know, they're Indianapolis Colts are doing whatever they want to do over there.
Yes.
Yeah. Now the Jaguars, on the other hand, they're also doing pretty well. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday night, and that was a good game. That is also in contender for best game of the year. I know we did that recently, where we did our best game of the year, first game of the year, and this is definitely going to be in the contention for, I think, game of the year. I mean, Trevor Lawrence right here trips, gets back up, and then runs it in for the touchdown. I mean, my goodness, Trevor Lawrence, what a guy! He's also. I think I said this before, where remember when I said Coach Liam Cohen, when he did the
Duval.
like everyone wasn't taking him seriously at all. They were just like, oh, whatever. 0-17, here we come. Well, guess what? They're making me look stupid.
Speaking of, so the Colts and Jaguars are both 4-1. That's the only division with two teams with that good of a record. The Colts' remaining 12 opponents are a combined 32-26. 5 of them have winning records. According to ESPN's FPI, they predict that the Colts will go 9-3 over that stretch, which would put them at 13-4. So I would say if they're anywhere near that, then yeah, they're going to the playoffs. They may be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay, but even though they have the same record, I feel like most people feel like, well, the Jags are the runner up here. So let's talk about the Jags for a second. Yeah. Their remaining 12 opponents are 27-33, which is a worse record, but 6 of them have winning records. Now, FPI only predicts the Jaguars are going to go 6-6 over that stretch, but that still puts them at 10-7 on the year. 10-7 on the year is a pretty good wild card contender. So here's kind of the bottom line. If the AFC North, let's say they only get 1 team in. Right now, that would be the Steelers, because the Ravens are 1-4. We keep on waiting. They're 1-4. Yeah. And the Bengals are spiraling. No Joe Burrow equals no playoffs. And then I would say in that case, the AFC South does get 2 teams in. The only outlier is if the AFC West gets 3 teams. But the third team in that division right now is Kansas City, who is 2-3 and just lost to the Jaguars. So the Jaguars would have the tiebreaker if it came down to those 2 teams. Believe it or not, I can't believe we're saying this. The AFC South might get 2 teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it could also be in the AFC Championship too. That's definitely a possibility. And one last thing before we move on. So the Jags are at +8 turnover differential. The Colts +5. So if they're winning the turnover battle, that's definitely helps you out in getting that winning record.
Moving on to number 3. Chad, is this real? Deshaun Watson will once again play for the Cleveland Browns. Chad, is that real?
Well, I mean, okay, so Joe, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but Joe Flacco got traded to the Bengals. Jake Browning isn't doing well. Actually, that's not true. I'm talking about another team in Ohio. Look, Cleveland is a freaking cesspool, okay? And when you have Dylan Gabriel, who looks like a freaking tiny little munchkin out there, and Shedeur Sanders being a walking meme, silent meme actually, where he's not even talking, so you might as well have Deshaun Watson in there. I'm going to go and say he will, because what are the options are they going to have?
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So Flacco is a Bengal, which, by the way, the Bengals have already announced he's starting this week against the Packers. What a hell of a guy, that Joe Flacco. As of this moment, the only quarterbacks they have left on the roster, active roster today, are Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Now, we know that they have Deshaun Watson. He's still technically on the PUP list, physically unable to perform with the Achilles that he then re-ruptured in January. But all signs are pointing to he should be cleared to practice this season. So the question is do we think he's going to get on the field? They did still have Bailey Zappi on the practice squad. And he hasn't, as of this moment, as you and I are talking, he hasn't been signed to the active roster yet. Now, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski has remained non-committal on even naming Shedeur Sanders the number 2 quarterback despite there only being 2 quarterbacks on the active roster. Now, let's say, well, what's the case for Watson? Well, the case for Watson is the case against the Browns, right? They gave him $230 million guaranteed, which means Watson's salary is still fully guaranteed through 2026. So it's kind of like if you're paying for the guy, I'm just saying he could at least potentially be your emergency quarterback because you're already paying for him. Yeah. But he's also a known commodity, right? Like, I don't think you or I think that Deshaun Watson's going to come back after all of this time and magically become the quarterback that the Browns always wanted him to be. Versus at least with someone like a Shedeur Sanders, we've yet to see him on the field. And so I feel like even if Gabriel struggles, Shedeur Sanders would at least get a shot. He'd get a crack at it because it's like, well, why'd you bother drafting the guy, right? If you're not going to put him on the field, which to be fair, Dylan Gabriel had a fairly decent first game. It was a last second loss to the Vikings in a game where Dylan played well enough to win. But I'll end it with this. If there's a serious injury issue, like we say, Shedeur Sanders is non-committal, but Dylan Gabriel breaks his leg. In that case, I think Watson's chances to play go from unlikely to likely. I can't believe we're saying this. In the year of our Lord 2025, Deshaun Watson might play this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to say. The fact that you're saying that he's non-committal to Shedeur Sanders being quarterback too, it's like, again, why even draft him then? What was the point?
I don't know. Look, I'm not a Shedeur Sanders hater like so many people are. Do I think he handles every situation with grace? No, I don't. He's also still a kid. Look, Baker Mayfield doesn't handle every situation with grace, and he's in the MVP considerations. All right. So I don't hate Shedeur Sanders. I would be perfectly content for him to go out there and ball out. It's just he obviously hasn't proven that he's even good enough to be an emergency option. Yeah. That's why I think in the worst case scenario, Watson could play. Yeah. Moving on to number 4, the Los Angeles Chargers will miss the playoffs. As a quick point to that, they started the season 3-0. They were the toast of the league. Now they're 3-2, going 0 against the NFC East so far at Giants, and then they lost to the Redskins by 17. Shane, the LA Chargers will miss the playoffs. Is that real?
I would say it's possible. I mean, it's kind of iffy. I know I'm not giving 100% a straight answer here, but I have trusted in Jim Harbaugh, and I think Justin Herbert's a great quarterback. But as we see here in these low lights against the Redskins, he wasn't doing too well. That line was just completely not giving him any favors at all. So if the offensive line continues to play the way that they played in that game, then they will miss the playoffs. But I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not like Kevin Stefanski with Shedeur Sanders QB2. I'm non-committal with that one.
Non-committal. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's look at the highs and lows, right? So first of all, they're still technically first place in the AFC West heading into Week 6. So it's not like the season's over, unlike some teams. Yeah. However, running back Amarion Hampton, who has really been a bright spot this year, just went on injured reserve. He's going to be out at least the next 4 weeks. So leading 10-0 this past weekend against the Redskins, they were heading towards a 3-possession lead when Quentin Johnston fumbled at the Redskins' 23-yard line. The Redskins went on to score the next 27 points unanswered. Yikes. That turnover completely broke the Chargers. Why? I don't know. Look, their offensive line is down multiple starters. They're 28th in pass blocking. I'm sure Herbert loves to hear that. They're 24th in run blocking. They've also had 24 penalties over the last 2 weeks. Good God, is this an undisciplined team? An undisciplined Harbaugh team. So they've already won games against the Chiefs and Broncos, both at home, but that's great. But it may be fool's gold because we know that the Chiefs and Broncos maybe are on the upswing. They do play both of those teams again on the road in the last 4 weeks of the season. A last tidbit here. They're 0-2 against the NFC East, and that's with them still having to play Dallas and Philadelphia. The Chargers, their remaining schedule, they still have the Colts, Vikings, Steelers, and Jags. Their remaining opponents are 30, 28, and 1. They went 3-2 against opponents who were 10 and 15. If they're only 3-2 against a losing schedule, what are they going to do against a winning schedule? I'm going to say the LA Chargers missing the playoffs is to go back to our AFC South. AFC South gets 2 teams, AFC West gets 2 teams, and the Chargers are not one of them.
Well, there you go.
Moving on
to
that one. Yeah, I'm committal. Look, Herbert's had a hot start to the year, but man, they lost to the Giants. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Number 5, the New York Jets are going to win the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL draft. See how optimistic I am right there? What do you think?
I mean, who else is it going to be? Maybe the Saints, maybe the Panthers. But I mean, look, the Jets are a terrible team. Aaron Glenn was being way too. I appreciate his spirit, but he was being too confident. And this is not going to be the same old Jets. Well, you're looking like it right now. You're 0-5, sir. So I'm going to go and say yes, they will pick first in the NFL draft. As of right now, yeah.
New York Jets will pick first in the 2026 draft. I'm going to say that it will be New York, but not the green ones.
Oh.
So hear me out on this. These are the teams that we'll say are currently in the running. All right. Jets, Titans, Saints, Browns, Raiders, Dolphins, Ravens, and Giants. Whoa. The Jets still play at Saints, Browns, and at Ravens, though they've already lost to the Dolphins. Now, if they lose those games, obviously plus more, that means they're a lock for the number 1 pick, right? Because they're losing to the teams on that list. But they do still have other winnable games along with those, including Panthers at Bengals, Dolphins again at home, and then they're playing at the Bills in Week 18, and the Bills may be resting their starters that game. We don't know. It's the last week of the year. Now, a whole bunch of the bottom 8 teams actually have multiple games against each other. So this is totally going to shake out by the end of the year. I mean, obviously, because so many of those teams they're going to self-eliminate. However, this is going to be my sleeper pick. The New York Giants, who have at Raiders, but they already lost to the Saints. And 11 of their remaining 12 games are against teams with a 500 or better record. Yeah. Yikes. Dayball. The loss to the Saints definitely gives the Giants a leg up, if you will, in the draft race. 11 of the remaining 12 are against teams with a 500 or better record. That is a big yikes for the Giants.
Wow.
Moving on to number 6, the winner of Sunday's game between your San Francisco 49ers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Is that real?
It definitely could be. I mean, you still have the Eagles out there. I know they just lost to the Broncos, but I'm going to go and say that between these 2 teams, yes, and showing here highlights from the last time they played against each other, the Buccaneers and 49ers. I mean, look at that stiff arm from Baker Mayfield. I mean, my goodness, that guy is that guy is called a turnaround. That guy, like you were saying before, immature, not doing very well. There's Brian Daboll again. Just so sad what you said last time, but we had to say about the Giants, whatever. But I'm going to go and say that between the Niners and Bucks, yes, number 1 seed in the NFC. I agree.
I'm going to say yes if the 49ers win, possibly if the Bucks win. So so who are the top 2, right? Eagles, Lions. Let's talk about the Eagles. The Eagles are coming off a loss. They look sluggish, and they still have at Packers, Lions, so those teams play each other, at Cowboys, at Chargers, at Redskins, at Bills. That's a tough schedule. All still left for Philadelphia. The Lions are playing at the Chiefs this weekend, which the Chiefs have a losing record, but that's going to be a big contest. Lions at Chiefs, that's going to be a big game. They still have the Bucks, the Vikings twice, at Redskins, at Eagles, the Packers again, who they got blown out by in week 1, at Rams, and then Steelers. Both of these teams have a lot of juggernauts left on the schedule. But of course, going back to our week 1 preview, you know who doesn't have a lot of juggernauts remaining on their schedule is your San Francisco 49ers. Look, they're already 4-1 with wins over every divisional opponent. That's pretty damn good. After the Bucks game, They have their division again, obviously. And then they also play at Colts. That's going to be a huge game. They still get the Falcons, Giants, Panthers, Browns, Titans, and Bears.
Browns.
While the Bucks, after the 49ers, get at Lions, Patriots, at Bills, at Rams, though they do still get the Saints and Panthers twice to go along with the Falcons and Dolphins. So kind of up and down for the Bucks. It's a whole lot of down for the 49ers. If the 49ers make it to 5-1, shit, man, they may be 14-3 this season just because they don't play anybody. They don't play anybody.
Who's going to be the Browns quarterback when the Niners play him?
Man, who's going to be the quarterback for half of the teams that they're playing when the 49ers? Who's the 49ers quarterback going to be when the 49ers?
Good point.
Okay, all right. Moving on to the last one for this segment, number 7. New England's quarterback Drake May is the best quarterback from the 2024 draft class. For reminders, that was first overall pick Caleb Williams of Chicago. Number 2, Jaden Daniels, Washington. Number 3 was Drake May at New England. 8th pick, Michael Penix Jr. of Atlanta. 10th was J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. And number 12 was Bo Nix in Denver. What do you think?
He's definitely shaping himself to be that best quarterback in that draft class. I mean, here's a stat that I thought was really interesting when I was doing just a tiny bit of research here. At 23 years and 36 days old, Drake May became the second youngest starting QB in NFL history to win on the road against the opposing starting QB who was the reigning MVP. The only other quarterback to do that was Dan Marino, who beat the Redskins' Joe Theismann. Remember Joe Theismann? He was 22 years, 353 days old, Dan Marino. So Drake May's in good company there. And I think if he continues that trajectory, yes, I think so. But hey, Bo Nix, he's looking pretty good too. So he's got some competition over there. So I'm going to say it's definitely Drake May, but Bo Nix is definitely giving him a run for his money there too.
All right. So I'm going to slightly pump the brakes on the Drake May for MVP chance real quick. So first of all, it might be a little bit disrespectful to just overlook Jaden Daniels, who just so happens to be the reigning offensive rookie of the year. Right? Well, there is that guy. Likewise, Bo Nix has already taken a trip to the playoffs, just like Jaden Daniels. And if we're gonna be extra fair to J.J. McCarthy, basically his career just began because he lost his rookie season. Now, with that said, listen, this was the other night's game in Buffalo. 22 of 30 for 273 yards. He is 5th in the league, not among rookies, in the league among passing yards and average per attempt. 6th in QB rating, 2nd in completion percentage. That goes along with 110 yards rushing. That's 9 total touchdowns. All that's great stuff. However, he's also taken 17 sacks already this season, which brings his QBR down to only 63.9, which is actually closer to middle of the pack. Still pretty good, definitely for a young quarterback, but not quite as gaudy. Now, where other quarterbacks have been flirting with that sophomore slump, another one of our previous segments, he's definitely taking the sophomore leap. He has big gains across every single metric for a quarterback. And this is just his first year under head coach Mike Vrabel and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. So I'm going to say of the 2024 draft class, he's playing the best right now. Right now. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Moving on to the week 6 question and answer. Question number 1. After only 5 weeks of action, the 1972 Dolphins have already popped the champagne as the last 2 undefeated teams lost on Sunday. Philadelphia Eagles lost at home to the Denver Broncos 21-17 in a game that they were leading 17-3 in the 4th quarter. Then on Sunday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills lost at home to the New England Patriots 23-20 in a game where they turned the ball over 3 times and had 11 penalties. Shane, how concerned should the Eagles and Bills be after these performances? We'll start with the Eagles. Should the Eagles be concerned?
Well, I mean, I know we mentioned it before earlier where their offense is starting to look sluggish. I mean, they didn't score hardly any. I don't think they scored any points in the 4th quarter of that game. It was all Denver. I wouldn't say so. I would say because You have the Giants there. That's a free win. The Cowboys who knows what the Cowboys are going to be week to week. And their only competition right now is the Redskins. So if they can beat them, then I wouldn't be too worried about it. They're the defending champs. So you kind of have to always give that little asterisk. Well, they won the Super Bowl last year, so you got to kind of give them the leeway there. So I would, in terms of the level of concern, I'd probably give it a 4. Like it's concerning, but not super concerning. When I'm like, oh, it's over for Nick Sirianni.
I think that they should be more than a little concerned because it felt like this week's loss, they had it coming. Yeah. So Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and A.J. Brown had a players meeting this week following their first loss. Oh, they're only 4-1, by the way. It's not the end of the season. But Hurts is the defending Super Bowl MVP, and he's hovering around middle of the league in passing stats. Yeah. Barkley is the defending rushing champion, and right now he has the 4th most carries, but only the 22nd most yards on the 4th most carries. Huge fall off for Saquon. And then, of course, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's not even the leading receiver on his own team. He's 62nd in the NFL amongst receivers. They're a 4-1 team, but they only have a plus 16 point differential. Every game they've been in this year has been decided by one score. Now, it is, you mentioned, they're playing at the Giants Thursday Night Football. That gives them an opportunity to get back on track. Mm-hmm. But I think if they have another one-score game in that game, it's going to be a big red flag. Speaking of upcoming schedule, 8 of their remaining 11 games are against teams 500 or better.
Yeah, they got some tough competition over there, yeah.
What do you think about the Bills? Should the Bills be concerned?
Who's in their division? It's going to be New England, right? We don't have to worry about the Dolphins, and I don't even remember who the other team is. The Jets? Yeah, you don't have to worry about them. Look, the concern for the Bills, I mean, look at Josh Allen's getting sacked there. The concern level for them is like a 2. I mean, New England's pretty good, but if Buffalo just completely falls off a cliff, then yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and say it's a 2. Maybe just like a tiny bit concerning, but only if Josh Allen breaks his leg.
I'm going to say not terribly concerned, assuming they protect the football.
Yeah.
So similarly to the Eagles, the Bills were winning, but not as impressively. In the last couple of weeks, they played the Dolphins and Saints, and both of those games were kind of closer than Bills fans would have liked. We'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. And so their inconsistency has now been matched with a failure to protect the ball, right? So 23-20 loss to the Patriots. By the way, that was their 4th home game in their first 5 weeks. So they're going to be going on the road a lot the rest of the season.
That's a good point.
They're tied for 7th in passing, thanks to the usual from Josh Allen. They're 2nd in rushing, due in large part to him and running back James Cook, to go along with 30.6 points per game, which is good for 3rd in the league right now. But they're 18th in scoring defense. And where the biggest concern is, they are allowing 145.6 yards per game on the ground. That's the 28th worst rushing defense in the NFL. Now, 8 of their remaining 12 games are against teams that are 500 or worse. If they beat the Chiefs at home the first week of November, they're going to be the clubhouse leaders still for the number 1 seed in the AFC. But we've seen this before with Buffalo. If the sudden case of the yips, like the other night, along with a porous run defense, that's exactly what has stopped the Bills from kind of breaking through in the postseason. So what's yet to be seen for them is that if the Bills under Sean McDermott, even as a 1 seed, can kind of finally take that next step.
Yeah. Yep.
So we talked about the top of the league. Let's talk about our friends in low places. Let's turn our attention to the other end of the spectrum. Now, back in our week 1 preview, we talked about the first-year head coaches, and we were debating which one would have the most successful debut for their respective teams. Yes. Now, I'll tell you 2 coaches who are definitely no longer in the running for that distinction. That is Aaron Glenn of the Jets and old man Pete Carroll of the Las Vegas Raiders. Aaron Glenn became the first Jets coach to start their tenure 0-5. His now infamous line, "We aren't going to be the same old Jets." That's technically true if you count that they're worse this year so far than they were last year.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, Pete Carroll's Raiders are 1-4, and he surrounded himself with a lot of familiar names, such as QB Geno Smith, who, oh, by the way, just leads the NFL in interceptions. To me, the Raiders rebuild at best looks like a several-year project, while Carroll turned 74 years old in September. So the question is, what are the chances of success? Is it possible that one or both of these guys could be out after only one season?
Well, starting with the Jets, I would just say this. After 5 games, only have 175 passing yards, only 7 sacks, which is near the bottom of the league, -8 turnover differential, and 157 points allowed. That's the most in the NFL. They're not good. The Jets are terrible. And I could see Aaron Glenn being out after the season, but I think they're probably going to give him maybe a 2-3 year kind of time window there. After that, if they don't even have any improvement whatsoever, if they're like 8-8 next year and then maybe like 10-7 the next, then they'll keep them. But other than that, it's over.
Okay, so all right, so Aaron Glenn, I would like to say that he doesn't get fired after only 1, maybe 2 years. But recent trends have been that coaches get a lot less rope than ever before. Urban Meyer fired in Jacksonville after effectively only 1 season in 2021. Nathaniel Hackett fired in Denver before completing his first full season in 2022. Antonio Pierce fired by Las Vegas, one of these same teams, after his first full season in 2024. Also in 2024, Gerard Mayo fired by New England after only just 1 season. Aaron Glenn, he was the star defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He was hired because the Jets value having another defensive-minded head coach, and yet this team is 31st in scoring defense. The nail in the coffin may be that aforementioned line about not being the same old Jets, because this team is actually less disciplined and more mistake-prone than ever. I think that there's a decent chance he's out after 1 year. But what do you think about old man Pete Carroll in Las Vegas?
How would you say he was turning 74, or he just turned 74?
He turned 74 last month.
My goodness. And yeah, like the Raiders were a rebuild. I don't really understand. I never really understood the hire of Pete Carroll. If they were going to rebuild, you would think they'd get someone who's 40, 50, even 60. At least he has some years there. But how long are they expecting him to be there? 5 years at the most, and then hopefully they'll have a winning team by then. I think with him, because it's Pete Carroll, you probably are going to keep him around just because of that name recognition. Other than that, I don't really see much success going there. I mean, it's the Raiders. I don't out for 1 season, no, but I think he's going to be there for a while.
I would like to say, yes, Pete Carroll is fired after 1 or 2 seasons, because I agree with you. He should have never been hired for this position.
Yeah,
I think this is what I suspect. They were looking for a new John Gruden. The whole Gruden thing went down. They should have just stuck with Gruden. But when they hired Gruden was 60, which may already be too old for a new start. You look at a lot of the young head coaches around the NFL these days and all the success they're having. And yet Pete Carroll's 74. And by the way, there's been a stiff decline in his career. Let's not whitewash his time with the Seahawks. It didn't start in Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. He was 122, 72-1 in his first 11 seasons in Seattle. That's a .628 win rate. It's pretty damn good. 9 playoffs in those first 11 years, 10 wins in the postseasons, 2 Super Bowls, 1 win. Most people would take that. But in his last 3 seasons in Seattle, he was 25-27. That's a sub 500 record, 1 playoff, 0 wins. Now, FPI projects them as underdogs in 9 of their remaining 12 games. I would say they would be lucky to be a 4-13 team by the end of the season.
Wow.
And the move to get Geno Smith, we're talking about Pete Carroll and his shelf life. At best, Geno Smith was a placeholder. At worst, he's a total disaster, which I think is what we're leaning towards. Yeah. I think that rebuilding this team will take, best case scenario, best coach in the NFL, all-star round 1 draft pick. It's at least 2 to 3 years after this year before the Raiders are relevant. Pete Carroll would be nearly 80. Terrible decision. Terrible decision. My goodness.
Yeah. I never understood it. Never understood that hiring. But hey, it's the Raiders, so do what they want to do.
Well, we're wrapping up the show with this week's picks. We're going to start off with the Seattle Seahawks coming off of a heartbreaking last-second loss to the Buccaneers, going on the road to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off of a big last-second win over the Chiefs. The Jaguars are 1.5-point favorites at home. What do you think?
Oh, that's a hard one. I mean, the Jaguars beat the Niners, so I have a sour taste in my mouth, but it's the Seahawks. Why would I ever cheer for the Seahawks? Yes, Jaguars getting that. Yes, 100% Jaguars.
It feels like the Seahawks should win this game. You look at the way Sam Darnold's been playing, you look at their point differential, you look at their stats on offense, it feels like the Seahawks are the better team. But the Jaguars have a better record, and their last 2 wins are 49ers Chiefs. Hey, look, you can pick all the pictures you want, my friend. That guy's a winner. At least the last few weeks. Yeah. I'm going to go with the Jaguars. I've picked against the Jaguars, I think, every week this year, and I've gotten burnt time and again. Moving on to the next pick, the Tennessee Titans, fresh off of their victory in hard quotation marks over the Cardinals, playing the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. The Raiders are 4.5-point favorites at home over the Titans. Shane, I still think the Titans might be the worst team in the league, but the Titans are coming off a win. The Raiders are coming off an absolute demolition. But the Raiders are 4.5-point favorites. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. I mean, maybe the Titans right on that high and just ease on in there against the Raiders, but 4.5? Doesn't that seem kind of high?
It seems kind of high for such a bad team. Sure does.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So, I mean, I guess go with the Raiders, but to me, that doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good. No, I don't like that one.
I'm reluctant to pick the Titans because I feel like on an even playing field in a best of 3, I think the Titans still lose to at least 29 out of the other 31 teams in the NFL, and maybe to all 31. I do think the Titans are that bad. With that said, I feel like this week is going to determine if the Titans have anything versus if the Raiders completely implode and Pete Carroll's out before the end of the year. I think if the Raiders go into this game flat, like they've basically already quit, and they let the Titans come to town and beat them, I don't think Pete Carroll even finishes the season. Yeah, so I'm actually going to go Titans in this game. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth with the way this. All right, we're moving on to arguably the game of the week, definitely for the NFC. The 4-1 San Francisco 49ers are going on the road to play the 4-1 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 2.5-point favorites. It looks like Mac Jones will once again be starting. Purdy has not practiced yet. Mac Jones back in the lineup. Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the just unbeatable last second Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't know if anyone predicted this was going to be the game of the week until it became the game of the week.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did. I mean, I could be a homer and say the 49ers, but man, that Buccaneers team. And the funny thing about both these teams that they're both injured. Like they have a lot of injuries all across the board.
Yes.
So this isn't 100% like, oh, we're going full steam ahead. No, these are both very injured teams, so it could go either way. 2.5 seems like a safe bet, so I'll go there and say Buccaneers 2.5.
I'm gonna say that. So last week's game for the Bucs was a huge win, and same thing for the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. I think with the extra rest and with Mac Jones playing at the level he's playing, I'm actually going to go 49ers in this game. But if the Bucs win yet another cardiac game at home, I am standing by it. The winner of this game, number 1 in the playoffs.
Return of the Mac.
Finally, our last game, Detroit Lions at Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh. This is the kind of game that everyone circled in the preseason as, oh man, I can't wait for this game. but one of those two teams hasn't held up their end of the bargain. Now, the Chiefs, Shane, believe it or not, with a 2-3 record, yet another ugly loss this week to the Jaguars, they're 2.5-point favorites over the Lions. What do you think?
Man, the Lions must feel real disrespected. They're going to beat the Chiefs' mouth in. I'm telling you, what, we're underdogs? No, take the Lions. I mean, this could have been the Super Bowl when the Niners and Lions face each other in the NFC Championship. This could have been the Super Bowl right here, Lions Chiefs. I'm taking the Lions, man. Come on, keep on rolling.
This is an interesting game because I feel like when you're taking the whole season into account, you feel like, oh yeah, the Lions have proven they're back. The Lion machine is running on all cylinders. And the Chiefs, like, okay, you blew out the Ravens in a game where Lamar Jackson limps off the field. Big deal. Yeah. The Ravens are terrible. With that said, the Lions won last week against the Bengals. But kind of like how both the Eagles and Bills were both like they were winning, but it wasn't super impressive. They let the Bengals come back and at least make it respectable. And that was with interception machine Jake Browning just throwing air balls to Jamar Chase every other play. And yet they still made it at least a respectable loss. I feel like the Lions are due for another drop. Yeah. I feel like they're due for another drop, whereas Kansas City needs this more. If the Lions lose this game, it doesn't derail their season. If the Chiefs lose this game, and it would be totally understandable if they did, the Chiefs are really behind the 8 ball.
Oh yeah,
they would be at 2-4. The Chiefs would be 2-4 if they lose this game after 6 weeks. I'm gonna say, as much as I hate it, because I'm no fan, I'm gonna say the Chiefs win it. They got to have it.
Well, you got to take a shower after that comment.
I know. Gross. Shane, you got a final thought?
Well, I do have a few final thoughts. I'm going to try not to take too long. But I know we were talking about Joe Flacco, who he played for the Browns. Now he's playing for the Bengals, which is kind of crazy that he's going to I mean, the funny thing, too, about this now. So Flacco to the Bengals, right? He's going to be starting versus the Packers after beating him with the Browns. I don't know if you remember that, but remember the Browns beat the Packers? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the 7th time since 1950 that a QB will start versus the same opponent twice in a season with a different team. Jimmy Clausen with versus the Seahawks in 2015. Kyle Orton did it twice versus the Raiders and Packers in 2011. Kerry Collins versus the Falcons in 98. Chris Chandler versus the Saints in 91. Norm Snead versus the Cowboys in 74. And Jack Kemp versus the New York Titans in 1962. Ooh. And Jack Kemp was the only one to have won both of those. So Flacco, maybe he'll be the second one. I mean, you never know. He's got that Joe Flacco, whatever they call him. He's super old over there. But my second final thought is go Niners. Let's go. Come on. Let's beat the Buccaneers. Come on.
All right. On that note, one game really quick that we didn't talk about that I do want to kind of give a quick preview of. Yeah. Not that I'm a homer or anything, but Dallas at Carolina. Oh. This is a game that Dallas has to have if they want to stay in it, because this is one of their most winnable games still remaining on their schedule. They're going to be facing an absolute gauntlet over the later part of the season. Taking a quick look at Dallas's schedule after this, they just thumped the Jets, right? And now they're playing the Panthers, another team that at least on paper, they should have a similar performance with. After that, they're going to have Redskins, Broncos, followed by Cardinals, Raiders. Oh my God. But then Cardinals. They've got Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers, Redskins. The Cowboys have to win this week, or otherwise they're going to be way too far back.
Oh, well, I'm sorry about that.
Well, we'll find out how we did next week. And until then, you guys enjoy your weekend, enjoy football, and go Cowboys. No, he's going, just not to the Cowboys. He's going somewhere.
Brian Dable, you are a Dallas Cowboys head coach.